So I have him on this e-collar. It's e-collar Technologies collar, just because I have a speaker box that hooks up to it. So when I tap on the button, he's receiving stimulation. I use moment, and we'll have to deal with this too, right? The fact that he's like, what is that? I use momentary stimulation to drive the dog, so any movement-based behaviors, I'm tapping the button repeatedly until he does what he's supposed to do. When I'm doing stop, like when we work on whoa, we'll switch to continuous, right? And so that's what you'll hear, right? And so the way that I look at this is like, if you're moving, muscles expand, contract, expand, contract, expand, contract. And so when I'm tapping the button, I'm making the muscle contract. When I get off the button, it's expanding again, right? So what I find is when I hold the button down, that's good for things like hold, if I'm working on force fetch, stop moving your mouth and chewing on that thing. And it's good for whoa, right? So that's what we'll use continuous for. For all of our movement behaviors, I'm going to keep tapping the momentary button until the dog completes the action. All we're doing right now is trying to find the level that he feels. I'm at a 2 right now, and he doesn't feel this at all, right? On these collars, to me, tends to be right around 10 up to about 20. Somewhere in there, the dog feels it. Usually, if they're at the higher end of that, we can back it off later, right? We're going to go through a couple phases of training when we're doing this e-collar work. There's point of perception, right? It's like the lowest level he feels, and we're just going to show him, notice this and notice how you can turn it off. As soon as I see that he understands that, we're going to find point of motivation. That is the level on this collar where you prioritize what I'm asking you to do over everything else. And that will change based on the environment that you're in. Here, relatively sterile environment, right? In a field, when you get him all bird crazy and then you're trying to stop him from chasing birds, higher level likely going to be needed, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. What I want you to think about in your head is there's really only 3 levels. There's too low, too high, and the right amount. And that can be large bands of levels on the e-collar. So don't get married to the number that I tell you he works on this collar, because you probably don't even have this brand first off, and then yours is going to be a completely different scale. And second, it's all relative to what's going on in the environment, right? All I'm going to try to do now is turn this up 1 or 2 levels at a time until I get a response from him that tells me he feels it. So that was a 4. This is a 6. Right? Don't really think he feels anything there. This is an 8. And this is ideally what I want, is he's going back to kind of like natural behavior so that I don't... Okay, so I did that 6 or 7 times before he squeaked, right? And then that time he squeaked, that's a 10, right? That's not very high. We can take this off and let you feel it. So we'll go back down to an 8. We're going to start working here, right? I think he feels this, so we'll start working here. Now we just worked on this behavior, right? So we're going to put this back down, and we're going to start trying to use remote collar to get him to get up here. The first couple times I do this isn't going to be received as informational pressure. It's going to be received as a distraction, which means I'm probably going to have to use the leash and collar to help him do the right thing. When I use the leash and collar in e-collar training, I'm going to use it as much as I need to, but as little as possible, and I need to fade its use as quickly as I can. Right? I want to be able to use e-collar only and have him understand this. He will need volume of repetition though. Yeah. So you should plan on doing 25 to 50 repetitions of this exercise per day until I see you next week. Right? And so we'll use leash and collar and e-collar and command, because we're getting all of this conditioned at least in this session. So you use all 3 of them as needed when you do this. You're definitely going to give the command every time. You're definitely going to apply e-collar stimulation at least a little bit every time. You'll use the leash if he needs help, right?